Hi friends, welcome to today's Pick a Card Tarot reading. So first off, I just want to say I'm sorry I've been kind of absent for a while. I was in the middle of moving and kind of turning my whole life around, so it was a busy period. And I had so much going on. Oh my gosh. So I'm finally at the point where I can start recording these videos again. I'm going to be doing way more face-to-face videos as well, but I haven't really gotten anything in my new place set up yet, so I don't quite have the space to do it, but eventually expect to see my face again. In the meantime, I can at the very least start doing some of these, you know, pick a card readings where you can see the cards at least, and then we can ease ourselves back into the channel this way. But anyway, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and welcome to this reading. Today we're going to be doing what changes are coming into your life, what new things are coming in, what's the change, what's the difference, what's happening in your life right now that's the energy that's moving you into something else. Change is the nature of our reality. Honestly, I think that change is the only constant thing that we have in life, and so this reading is going to be talking about what that change means for you right here, right now in your life. So I have 4 piles for you to choose from today. We have pile number 1, pile number 2, pile number 3, and pile number 4. Once again, that's pile number 1, pile number 2, pile number 3, and pile number 4. So I will let you choose which pile is yours down below in the description section of this video. I have a link to your reading, and we will get started. Hey there, pile number 1. Welcome to your reading. This is your reading for what changes are coming into your life. What is the change that is happening currently in your life? So I have 4 different decks today, 2 cards roughly from each. There might be a couple of extras that came in, but we're going to start with 2 cards from the Wild Unknown Tarot. So let's see what change is coming into your life. We have the Daughter of Swords, which is the Page of Swords in most decks, and we've got the Ace of Pentacles. Well, so there we go. You've got a new beginning. Definitely, this is some intense new beginnings energy, which is wonderful. And it's a new beginning in 2 places. We've got a new beginning in the material world for you. So you may have been, you may have moved recently or be in the middle of moving like me. Or, maybe you started a new job, or there's some difference in the physical world around you, right? That something in your physical reality has changed. It could be as simple as you redecorated, or with it being the Pentacles talk about the physical world. And they talk about the material world. And so because of that, they can talk about money and wealth a lot as well, gaining money and wealth and abundance. So this could be talking about a new form of abundance coming into your life, a new way to make money if you're looking to make money, a new way for, something like that I'm getting from this. So, you've got this new start that's coming in here, this new beginning, and it's coming in with a new perspective on life as well, because we've got the page. The pages talk about new beginnings too, but they can talk about like starting a journey, just starting a new way of thinking, a new way it's a new way of thinking, because the swords are an air sign, and the air signs are all about the mind. It's the mental body, the mental thought systems. So you've got a change in that. So, this could be, there's a lot of things that this could be. You're entering into this new journey towards a new way of thinking. So with it being together, maybe you're going back to school, or, it could be that, but it doesn't have to be. Anything like that, or you're learning a new skill, in order to make money, or or like I said, you're moving, and it's opening up this new thought process. You've just got this new ability to see the world in a different way that's opening up to you. And it's coming from this change in your physical world. You've changed something in the world around you, and that has opened up this ability to see things from a new perspective. And that perspective shift is this major change that's coming into your life. Let's look at some more cards to kind of see where that's going. We've got 2 cards from the 1JJ Swiss deck. We've got the Page of Swords and the Death card. So the Page of Swords, it's the Knight of Swords and the Death card. Okay, so we'll start with the Death just to get it out of the way. The Death card isn't scary in tarot. It looks pretty intimidating, and especially in the West, we kind of have, at least in America, it's different in other countries, but there's this sort of fear of death is kind of a permeation of everything, but not all human societies and human cultures have this fear of death, right? Death in the tarot doesn't necessarily mean death. It means like change. It means this transformation. It's this radical movement from one thing into something else. So I'm getting this sense that, with this change in the material world that's happening, and this new thought process that's coming in, it's coming in too with this radical change of consciousness, because the Death card talks about this inward change. There's a couple of major change cards in the tarot, and the Death in particular, it tends to talk about this like consciousness transformation. So you have this transformation of your consciousness coming in here. And it's really tying into this Page of Swords. It's a new way of seeing the world around you. I mean, maybe you're moving towards this abundance, in this new physical world in a way that you never would have before. You're following a path that you couldn't follow based on your old thought processes and old belief systems. And with this with this Knight of Swords here, the Knights to me always talk about the movement that's happening within the reading. So, with this reading in particular, you have this major movement in the swords energy, which is thoughts, which is your thoughts and your mind and your mental body. So you're really moving into this new perspective, and that's where the major change is coming into your life. It's coming from this brand new way of seeing the world, and allowing that new sight to move you into a new mode of thinking, and a new mode of being. And with the Death card, like I said, it's coming with this radical transformation of your consciousness. You're moving into something new. You're perceiving reality in a new way, and that's allowing you to live your life in a way that you wouldn't have been able to before. You're opening yourself up to new things, new people, new situations, newness, in a way that was not present or possible for you before this moment. Next up, we have a couple cards from the 1JJ, this is from the Universal Waite Deck. It's the classic Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but it's called the Universal Waite Deck. We've got the Death card again. Oh my gosh. Wow. That is powerful. So when a card comes up twice in a reading, that means it's the most important card. It means that this is the message that the reading is about, and that they want to get past to you. Is like, this is what you need to know. And so, to have Death come up twice here, you really are in this deeply radical transformational moment for yourself in this moment, because it's the death of everything that's come before you. You're ready to be in a completely brand new state of being, that you have never been in before, right? This is entirely new. This is not a return to something that's been before, and maybe you have some things coming back, for whatever reason, I'm getting that sense that you have some things that were present in your life before that maybe are going to reappear, because nothing in life is truly lost, right? There's that saying that nothing that leaves us is ever truly gone, and things come back in different and new forms. And so I can get a little bit of that sense from this, that maybe some things from the past are coming back in new forms, but it's totally and completely different forms, right? They're coming back to you in completely different ways. Things are coming to you in a new ability that has never existed before. It's a new way of being, a new way of seeing, a new way of perceiving, and because of that new consciousness, that's allowing you to create a brand new life for yourself physically that was not possible before. Next we have the Queen of Cups. Yeah, and so it's coming from this energy of deep love. You're opening yourself up to this self-love. The Queen of Cups can be deeply self-nurturing, right? You're entering into this self-nurturing energy that's allowed you to transform yourself. You've taken this self-love very seriously, and so because of that, you've allowed yourself to connect to the flowing nature within you of deep love, and you've allowed that nurturing compassion to expand to all parts of your life. And through that compassion, you've given yourself the gift of transformation. So this transformation can only occur and has only been able to happen, this new beginning in the material world, this new mode of thinking, of operating in the world, could only ever happen through this deep felt self-love, and that connection into your heart center, your heart space, has opened up a new reality for you, and you've taken that seriously, and it's showing. This new transformational period is really bright and beautiful for you, because you're coming from it from a place of your heart center. You're coming from it from a place of of love for yourself and the world around you, and that's allowing you to make all of this happen. The final two cards come from my hand-drawn deck. I drew this deck myself a couple of years ago, and I'm actually working on a new deck now that I will be selling eventually, so keep an eye out for that. But two cards. First card is the Magician, and we have the Page of Swords, or so the Knight of Swords again. Wow, okay, so another double confirmation. This is cool. It's a little bit rare, especially with so few cards, to get two doubles, so that's pretty amazing. With the Knight of Swords there, again, that's just reconfirming that this is really a movement in your mind, in your mental body. So the change that's really occurring is this transformation of your consciousness, this transformation of your mental state, and so that's pretty cool. And then with the Magician here, it's really telling you that you have the power to make whatever you want happen in your life, and you're starting to exercise that power. That this transformation is all occurring because you have opened up your ability to transform yourself, right? And you're taking, the Magician transforms this energy of what's coming from above and brings it into the life around them. So it takes the knowledge and the wisdom from the other realms and transmutes and transmits it into this lifetime and makes it happen into the world around us. So you're taking on that energy of taking forth your visions and bringing them into reality. And that's what's happened here. That's where this transformation comes from. And because you're in this new state of being able to do that, now you're going to be opening up this visionary state for yourself. And you're going to be able to use it to create this new reality for yourself. So anyway, pile number one, that was my reading for you. I hope that it resonates. Please let me know in the comments what you think of it either way. I love hearing from you. I have private readings available on my website. Feel free to check that out at www.junodrome.com. And I have a Patreon available for bonus content as well. So you can check that out too at patreon.com/junodrome. I hope you have a wonderful day, pile number one, and I will see you soon. Hey there, pile number two. Welcome to your reading. This is your reading for what changes are coming into your life. As I said in the introduction, change is the nature of reality. So things are always moving into something else. Time is always moving us into a new mode, a new way, a new beginning, a new place. And so for this reading, we're going to be asking what change is coming to you. So I've got 4 different decks here today. 2 cards from most decks, but you got 3 from the Wild Unknown. So we'll start with this 3 cards from the Wild Unknown Tarot. You've got the 9 of Wands. We've got the Chariot. Ooh, cool. And we've got the Daughter of Cups. All right, so with the 9 of Wands here, to me, this card is always kind of talking about this idea, in this deck in particular, this 9 of Wands card is like, it's like these stepping stones, right? You've got these stepping stones that are moving you up to where you're trying to go to. And it tends to talk about this idea of taking things one step at a time. So I can tell from these cards that you've been trying to make something happen in your life. You're trying to manifest something or trying to bring something into being. And you're on your way, right? It's just going to take one step at a time. So try not to be too obsessed with getting to the finish line, right? Because it's always going to be about taking things one step at a time. But you have this new beginning opening up with the Daughter of Cups. The daughters in this deck are the pages, and so the pages can talk about a new start. They talk about being at the early stages of a journey, you know, because they're the very first of the royal cards, and so they talk about like being at the beginning of something, being at the early stages of something, and utilizing that early energy into making something move forward. So for you, I've got this sense that you're in a new beginning and in the beginning stages of working towards your emotional body, working towards fulfillment, you know, following your heart and your and love, you know, and your emotional fulfillment. So opening up this new start into a new way of feeling. And it's coming one step at a time for whatever it is you're working on. And with the Chariot here, you know, the Chariot can be this very swift moving energy, but in this particular deck, it's really cool because you have the sun, the moon, and the star all in line. So it's this idea of the stars are aligning for you. So you know, I think you've been chipping away slowly and working at step by step by step by step, climbing this pyramid. And I think you're about to enter the top here because we have 2 moons too as well, this double moon energy, and that's opening up this new fulfillment for you. So I feel like you're reaching the top of this pyramid here, and the stars are now aligning for you, right? The stars are aligning and opening you up into this new way of perceiving the world, of moving through the world, that's going to be very emotionally fulfilling for you. Feeling comfortable, feeling love, feeling joy. You know, you've got that joyful energy that's opening itself up to you now that you've been working so hard at making something happen. And I think that you're working, you know, that's starting to pay off. I think you're starting to see results there. Next, we have 2 cards from the 1JJ Swiss deck. First up, we've got the Hanged Man. Okay. And then we've got the 6, 7, 8 of Cups. Okay, interesting. So, you know, with the Hanged Man energy there, right? I think that you've been really stuck for a while, and that this climb up this pyramid hasn't been very easy. You know, maybe it's been like 2 steps up and then 1 step back down, and then 2 steps back up and then 2 steps back down, you know? So it just feels like, you know, you've just had such a hard time climbing this pyramid. And you know, you've just been so stuck, you know, you've been stuck in your thoughts, you know, with this new start in an emotional fulfillment. You know, maybe you've been kind of depressed in moments of your life, you know, maybe you've been feeling, you know, that things aren't working out for you, you know, and maybe you're feeling that way now potentially, but I feel like you're moving away from that, because you have the 8 of Cups, which talks about walking away. It talks about walking away from a situation and moving on, moving into a new way of life, right? It's like with these 8 Cups here, this person in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, it's depicted as a man who's walking away from these 8 Cups. And so it's this idea that these 8 Cups have served you very well for such a long time. You know, they've been so deeply, deeply important to you in fulfilling you, in making life happen for you. But actually they don't really fit your life anymore, right? It's like now they're just being forced. It's like maybe for a time they were important and they worked out, but now it just doesn't work, you know? And so you're walking away from that with the hopes of finding the 9th and 10th cup, which you're going to find, especially with this, you know, this Daughter of Cups here. It's exactly that energy. It's like you're walking away from this in order to find this emotional fulfillment. You're walking away from this Hanged Man energy. You know, you're leaving behind the difficulty in walking up this pyramid, and you're coming to the end of it. You know, you're allowing yourself to just take 1 step at a time, instead of maybe trying to sprint up the pyramid and then falling back down. You know, you're gonna just take it 1 step at a time now and say, you know what, it's okay. I'm gonna conquer step 2 here first, you know, and then I'm really, really, really gonna be so solid on step 2, and then I'll move to step 3, and that's okay. I can take my time. There's no rush. And when you start to slow down and take your time up this pyramid, it's going to be much easier for you. You're going to be more fulfilled with it, and it's going to make more sense to you, you know? Instead of trying to force things to happen, you're going to allow yourself to allow things to unfold the way that they need to. And that's going to be deeply beneficial for you. And it's going to come from walking away from things. There are certain things or people or situations or stuff that's in your life that is making you feel stuck. And so you're really, really, really being encouraged to walk away from everything that's not serving you. And I mean everything, you know? Like, do a deep, deep, deep inventory of your life and really ask yourself, is this person really good for me, or are they triggering me into something that's not helpful, you know? And I'm not telling you to cut people completely out of your life, you know? I'm not saying, like, especially if it's like family that you love and people that you love and you want to be around, no. But I am saying, you know, maybe there are some people in some situations that just don't work for you anymore, and it might be time to move in a different direction, and that there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you don't have to feel forced to keep yourself in a situation that isn't working, because that's not really good for either of you, you know? So it's really, really taking an inventory of your life and allowing yourself to let go of those things that don't work anymore, and being okay with letting those things go. You know, being okay with saying, all right, you know what? I appreciate where we are. I appreciate what we've gone through together, but I'm in something different now. I feel it, and you're in something different now. And it's time for us to just go our separate ways, and that's okay, you know? So whether that's a person or that's a place, you know, maybe it's time to move out of where you are, and then that's okay, you know? It's time to at least start figuring that out. You know, nothing can happen overnight. So, you know, if you're in a lease that's going for another couple months, you know, maybe now is the time to start planning the move for yourself, you know, going somewhere different, or, you know, whatever this is for you. Just like really do an inventory of your situation, because there's stuff that's been present in your life that's been holding you back, you know, or that's been keeping you feeling stuck. And that stuck energy, I feel this, it's like the stars are aligning. So like, you know, your guides and the universe and everything around you is trying to show you that there's a new way forward. And so with these stars aligning, it's like kind of saying, no, look, right now is the perfect time for you to move into this new thing. You can let go of everything else. It's time to move into a new way of being. I really get that sense. Next up, we have 2 cards from the Universal Waite Deck, is technically what this is called. This is the classic Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but it's called the Universal Waite Deck, this particular one. We've got the 8 of Pentacles, and we've got the Page of Cups again. All right, so whenever a card comes up twice in a reading, it's like, that's the highlighted card for this entire reading. That's the most important card. That's what, you know, the message that is needing to be getting across to you in this reading. And so for it to be this double page energy, it's really kind of talking about this idea that you're ready to be in a new way of being, you know, that's going to be more beneficial to your emotional well-being. You're being encouraged to take this new beginning that's opened up to you with this Chariot here, to take this new beginning towards emotional fulfillment, to really follow the things in life that make you happy, and to ask yourself, what can help make me happy, and to reconnect with your heart center. The cups can be all about this heart-centered living, this heart-centered way of operating. And so you're being encouraged to tune back into your heart, to make decisions from your heart. That's what heart-based living is. It's about not using your head as much. And I know that it can be really hard when you haven't been in practice of this to know the difference between your mind and your heart sometimes, you know. But the heart is a slower moving thing. It comes really when you slow down and you take deep breaths and you do some meditation and you go back into yourself. And it's the answers that start coming up to you then. It's those things that are like those small dreams of like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if this happened, you know, that you're daydreaming and all of a sudden you're thinking about that, you know. That's from your heart, you know. Your mind, it can be more like, you know, it's that faster movement of energy that's just go, 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 oh my God, we got to do this, blah, 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 blah. You know, that's the mind. And so it's like, when it's the heart, it's much slower. It's like that tuning back into your intuition. You know, your intuition is more aligned with your heart than your mind is. So you're just being encouraged to take a new start and to start making decisions from your heart. You know, what's going to make you happy, and you know, allowing yourself to ask yourself that question and allowing yourself to answer it. You know. Like to really follow it and be like, okay, I'm gonna follow what makes me happy, and that's okay. Next up, we have 2 cards from my hand-drawn deck. I drew this deck myself, so let's take a look at what we got. We've got the 6 of Pentacles, and we've got the it's called Jupiter or Jupiter because it's in French, but it's the Hierophant. So, you know, with this 6 of Pentacles card, you know, it's this idea of balance, right? That there are that life is a give and a take, and it's this idea that, like, you know, that help is present around you at all times, and you just have to ask for it, and that it's okay to ask for help. So if you're trying to change your mind about something, you know, if you really, if you've been in a depressed energy, because I kind of get that sense from this reading, if you feel like you've been depressed in your life, that's okay. You know, it's okay to be in depression. I've been in incredible periods of depression in my life where, you know, very deeply debilitating depression where I can't really move forward, and, you know, I was deeply stuck for such a long time. And so, you know, if you're feeling that way, it's okay to ask for help. You know, it's okay to go out and get help. So just always keep that in mind. You know, like I always recommend counseling. I've seen a counselor many times at different periods of my life, and it can be incredibly helpful. You know, it doesn't mean anything to see a counselor, right? Like, it doesn't say anything about you, you know, or, you know, you don't have to be afraid, especially, you know, with if you're super into tarot, you know, I know that for people like me and probably like you who are deeply spiritual or feel deeply connected to beings, entities, feelings on the other side, you know, this idea of other realms, all of that, it can be really intimidating to go and see a therapist because, you know, you don't want to feel like they think that you're crazy or anything like that, you know. But honestly, you'd be deeply surprised. Most therapists are especially if you see a psychologist, you know. I don't recommend seeing a psychiatrist necessarily, because they're all about medication, and that's a very different mode of acting. But if you go and see a psychologist, you know, they're going to be very mindful of you, you know. It's psychology is more about, and counseling in particular, it's more about you utilizing the tools that they have to come to a better sense of calm within yourself as a being. And so, you know, if you are a deeply spiritual person and that spirituality moves you and makes you feel comfortable in the world, and helps you, you know, as a being feel better, no counselor is going to deter you from that ever. And so, and if they do, then you just find a different counselor, right? Like and there are many people out there, so you can find one. Especially, there are many tools online for helping to find counselors. You can find one who is more aligned to your own sensibilities and spirituality than you think. But I don't mean to go off on a tangent on counseling here, because you don't necessarily need that. It's only if you feel you want it. But just remember that there's help out there. There's other people out there too, like readers like me, you know, like I do private readings. All of my favorite readers do private readings on YouTube. And so, you know, you have tools at your disposal for that. And then there's more readings like this out there too, these free ones, you know. So there's many tools and different avenues available. So remember that you have help to help get you into a new mode of being, you know. I forgot to talk about the Eight of Pentacles here. This is all about this idea of work, you know. Like I was saying here, it's like I do feel that you've been putting in this work here, that you're just kind of chugging along trying to make this happen, and that's a good thing, you know. That's okay, you know. It's good to put in this work on yourself, and I feel that you've been trying to work towards moving yourself into this new way of thinking and being, towards your own happiness. And then you're being encouraged to put in that hard work, that actually remember that at the end of the day, this work that you put in, you know, you get results. Look at all of these coins that he made that are hanging up now, and then he's going to keep making them. He's going to keep making more until he's ready to sell them. So it's like, you know, the more work that you put in on yourself, the more results you're going to see. So, you know, if you're working hard on yourself, if you're really doing that work for yourself, you know, to improve your life, you know, to improve your sense of day to day, your real being and feeling, if you put in that work, you're going to see the results. You know, if you've been feeling depressed and you work on yourself and you try to, you know, it's not an easy road, right? Like I was saying, I've been deeply depressed, and you know, I've gotten out of that depression, but it didn't happen overnight. And it was like, I had to take a look at a lot of things in my life, you know, a lot of things, and a lot of ways I was thinking, and a lot of, you know, past things, and a lot of just like, I had a lot of assumptions and a lot of different thoughts going. And so, you know, it takes time to unravel that. But if you are willing to do the work, you know, once you do that unraveling, you are forever changed. You know, I feel like you know, I don't have to be depressed anymore, and I can't tell the future completely, but I don't think it's coming back for me, you know, because I've learned the tools to cope with life, you know. I've learned how to move through difficulties, and that those movements are there for you, you know, and spirituality can really help with that as well. So, you know, if you're opening yourself up to that, you know, just know that that's there for you. And then that final card was the Hierophant here. So, you know, just to go back to this, mental health picture, which is kind of what's coming up for me a little bit here in this reading by the end here, the Hierophant to me tends to come up with this, it can talk about tradition and following the bounds of tradition. And so for me, I just like always had this rebellion against that, just based on my sensibilities and who I am in my own life. I don't like supposed to's in life. I don't like things that we have to do because this is what we do, and you must do this because that's what society wants of you and all of that. To me, when that Hierophant comes up, it talks about that, and it talks about the rebellion against that, and so it's okay if your life doesn't look like what you think a life, quote unquote, is supposed to look like, quote unquote, based on your family conditioning, your social conditioning, how you grew up in life, what your parents told you were supposed to be, and even just all that stuff that you got subconsciously, just based on growing up, right? By being alive in this world, we pick up on different things from our parents, on how they live, and so we model ourselves off of that behavior. And that's a huge thing with that Hierophant card, is like, it always to me talks about this idea that you can break that pattern. You don't have to be who your great grandfather was, what I mean? It's like, you don't have to keep these cycles going. You don't have to keep any kind of ancestral traumas going, and that maybe some of this depression that you've been in, some of this stuck energy that you've been in, is coming from this internal conflict between you following your heart and following your own being and what your own being is asking of you, versus you following your family obligations or your societal conditioning or your ancestral inheritance of, this is what we, the Millers, quote unquote, or we, the Joneses, or we, the Pavardis, or we, whoever you are, wherever you're from, like, this is what we, this is who we are, like, it's like kind of like ending that and be like, well, okay, I see that, but this is who I am, and then once you do that, then you'll be surprised that it's funny. I'm starting to have some of these things from my family kind of come back into my life now that I'm super confident in myself, because you start to come into this take it or leave it energy, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you can take your favorite bits from your family and you can leave the stuff that doesn't work, and that's okay. That there's no false dichotomy in that, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. You can totally, have it all, you can have it all. So anyway, pile number 2, that was my reading for you. I hope that it resonates. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you think of it either way. I really, really love hearing from everybody. Yeah, sorry for my absence for so long. Like I said in the introduction, I was moving and I had to find a new apartment, and then I had to pack up my entire life. I was living in this same house for 3 years, and I finally have my own apartment now, which is so incredible. But yeah, in order to afford the new place, I had to take up a couple part-time jobs, and it's been an intense month. But I'm finally at a spot where I'm settled, and so this channel's going to be going gung-ho again, so really pay attention. If you ever want a private reading with me, feel free to check out my website at www.junodrome.com. I've got a couple of options available there. And then finally, feel free to check out my Patreon. I've got some bonus content there that you can't get anywhere else. That's available at patreon.com/JunoDrome. So anyway, pile number 2, I hope you have an incredible day, and I will see you later. Bye. Hey there, pile number 4. Welcome to your reading. This is your reading for what changes are coming into your life. What is the new thing coming in? What is the difference here? So I've got 4 different decks to choose from here today, and I've got 2 cards from each. So we're going to get right into your reading here. First up, it's 2 cards from the Wild Unknown Tarot. So we've got the Mother of Swords, and we have the Three of Wands, which the Three of Wands in this particular deck I think is really cool because it's this like this kind of portal, you know, you got this triangle portal coming in here, which is showing to me it's always like this like window into another dimension, right? So it's like what are the changes coming into your life? You're envisioning a future here, and it's coming with the Mother of Swords. And the Mother of Swords, or the Queen of Swords in most decks, sometimes she's considered cold, you know, quote unquote, but I never really see her that way personally. She's seen that way, but in reality she's just you know, she has emotions. She's a very emotional person, but she doesn't let her emotions get to her. Instead, she feels her emotions. You know, she's able to walk away from a challenging situation and feel what she needs to feel, and then let that go, and then return to the situation from a newer perspective, you know, where she's calm and collected. So with that sort of calm and collected energy coming in, you're going to be seeing into this new world, right? It's like you've mastered a particular element within yourself of your emotions, to the point where you can now envision a future and bring in the future that you really want for yourself. You can bring this future into your life in a way that's going to be really helpful for you and really open you up to something new and beautiful, right? It's this brand new vision for a new reality for yourself. And that's kind of what the Three of Swords, sorry, the Three of Wands is normally about. It's like this idea of, you know, standing on a cliffside and watching your ships come in, you know, it's like you've spent a lot of time trying to make something happen, and now you're open to it coming in, right? And I think it's like this new vision is coming to you, this new vision of a new world, of a new way of being, of a new way of seeing and interacting with reality. And it's really beautiful, and it's coming from this new calm perspective. So let's see what other cards you have. We have two cards from the IJJ Swiss deck, or sorry, the 1JJ Swiss deck. One of my favorite decks here. It's really beautiful. It's from the 70s. It's one of my favorites. We've got the 5, 6, 7, 8 of Pentacles, and we've got the King of Cups. Okay, so you've got both a king and a queen here, which is kind of cool. With the King of Cups, he's the most compassionate of all of the male cards in the entire deck. To me, he exemplifies this sort of compassionate masculinity, this like love from a male source, you know. To me, it's like, you know, he's kind of like the Mr. Rogers sort of energy, or like a Bob Ross kind of a figure, you know. So it's like he's really encouraging you to connect in with your heart space and connect in with your sense of love, you know, and interact with the world and move through the world from this heart-centered living. And that's gonna help you in this new vision that's coming forward for yourself, is really opening yourself up to your heart, what your heart wants, moving forward from the heart. And then that's going to open up this vision of a new life for yourself, right? It's like, now that your emotions aren't taking the best of you, you can be in a place of calm and collectedness, and you're uniting the mind and the heart, you know. It's the mental body and the emotional body. You have both represented by royal cards in this reading. So it's like, you know, you're bringing those two together. You're not running just from the mind or just from the heart. You're running from both places. And that's going to help open up this new reality, which is, you know, it's something that you've been working really hard on. With the 8 of Pentacles, it just talks about like this hard-working energy, this like being in this work state, you know, and making things happen. And that it takes time and energy to make things that you want occur in life, but that you can do that you can make whatever you want out of this life, you know, that it's your life to live however you need it to, and you can achieve whatever it is that you dream for yourself. It's just a matter of getting out and doing it, you know, putting in the work. And so it's this nice little reflection between these two cards of envisioning this future for yourself and then going and building it, you know, and it's where this united energy from the heart and the mind are coming in together, that you have this united vision and this united work, and that, you know, there's a certain element of patience that's being asked of you too with these cards that I'm feeling with this reflective vision, right? It's that you can make anything you want in life happen. It won't necessarily happen overnight though. And so that's something that's important to remember, is that you can't get discouraged by things taking time. That you can't get discouraged by things not occurring overnight, because life is about building. But if you slow down and allow yourself to build things step by step by step, a little at a time, then you'll be amazed when you look back from the future. You look back on what's happened, you'll be amazed at the reality that you've actually accomplished far, far more in that amount of time than you thought. And it's because you just work diligently a little bit every day. And the more that you work a little every day, a little every day, a little every day, you get closer and closer to that goal. Because at the end of the day, the goal, like that end point, isn't it, right? It's not just about the finish line. It's about the whole race. It's about the whole journey. And life is about living that journey, And so it's really important to remember that, that to have that patience, because you're supposed to enjoy your life moment to moment. It's not just about that ultimate outcome. And I have firsthand experience with all of this. This is kind of the story of my life recently, has been all about this. You may have noticed I've been a little bit absent for the last month, and that's just because I had to move, and and that was a really intense experience and really great. Like I finally have my own apartment, and it's all these things I kind of had dreamed about and never really was able to make happen, but I did it, and it took work, and it took time, and it took a lot of effort, but because I stuck with it, here I am, and now I'm back on my channel, and I'm back into this, and so it's like, sometimes you got to take those little detours in life too, and that's okay, because it's all about the journey, right? It's all about the step by step by step action to getting to where you want to go, and not just about being at that end place. Next up, we have 2 cards from the Universal Waite Deck, is what this is officially called. It's the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And we've got the Hanged Man. All right. And we've got the 8 of Wands. This is really, really interesting. These are complete opposite energies, like the complete opposite energy. So I think what's coming in, the change, is you're moving from one of these to the other, right? Because you're no longer like with this stuck energy. I think you were at odds between these 2 places. I think you were at odds between your heart and your mind. I think there was a dichotomy going on in your life, which honestly it makes sense. I think it's kind of all of us. We all kind of go through that. It's especially in the world as it is right now in Western discourse, with everything that's going on in politics and in political forces and geopolitical forces, and and global forces, and weather and climate, and all the stuff that's happening in the world right now. It's pretty easy to get lost in the mind, right? So I think that you're kind of coming out of this stuck period and moving into this very fast movement energy, because once you unite these 2 together, once you unite your mental body and your emotional body into one thing, because we are one being, every human being is one organism. And so when you stop getting in your own way, which is kind of where this stuck energy can be, being the one who's your own worst enemy, or not necessarily that, but like tripping over your own feet, you know what I mean? That can happen when the emotional body and the mental body are in conflict. And so when you start to bring those 2 back together, right, then you can start connecting into your intuition, which is going to show you the vision for your higher self, right? The vision of your higher self, which is just this idea of, the life that you want for yourself, and not just what you think you want because of societal expectation, but what you ultimately want, what would be in your highest good, the highest ultimate outcome for you and your life. You're going to be able to connect that. And then you're going to be able to see how to bring that into your life. And once you do that kind of opening, once you open up to this intuitive spirit within you, things are going to start moving very quickly. You're going to have this fast movement energy. You're going to be picking up this spirit of quick, fast moving energy towards your, you know, opening to whatever's coming next, you know? And that's kind of what's happening, is you're opening into this new phase, and it's moving quickly. It's going to be a total and complete 180 from maybe where you've been stuck, you know? You're finally getting unstuck as you unite these two forces within you. Final deck we have is my hand-drawn deck. I made this deck myself, and we've got the 10 of Pentacles, which is great. That's like ultimate abundance. And we've got the Fool, which is a new beginning. That's kind of cool. I like that. So you've got this new beginning that's opening up to you with everything that I just said. And what's coming along with that is a movement towards abundance, you know? And with the 10 of Pentacles, it's like this fulfillment too. It's like you're going to see a vision for your future, for your life. And remember, you know, it's really important to live in the present, which is exactly what I've been talking about. It's not just about having this vision for the future and then lamenting about not being there, or you know, ignoring the life around you that's happening currently because, oh, well, this is what's going to be someday. So whatever right now is just whatever, and I'm going to just wait around for someday to happen, right? That's not how life works, because in reality, there is no future, you know, and it's not like in that, I don't mean that in a nihilistic way. I mean it in this idea that in reality, the only thing that exists is this moment right here, that the idea of a tomorrow is just a concept that's existing in your mind. And so even these visions, these powerful visions that we can get from our intuition, and trust me, I've gotten some incredibly, incredibly powerful visions for my future from my own intuition. Even those visions, it's important to remember, are just that. They are just visions. And it's up to you as the human being, as the self, as the person living your life, to take that vision and to bring it into the real world with this hard work energy. You have to take that vision and move it from a visionary state, from a mental state, from your mind, and move it into the physical world around you. And I see that you're really opening up with that. You're going to see a way to do that, you know, whatever that is for you, whatever that new spark is, be it a project, a job, a relationship, a new place to live, or whatever, you know, whatever this vision of your future that you're going to get and work hard on. When you open that up and learn how to bring it into the real world, you're going to have this new beginning that's an open chance for abundance. And this really solid, stable material abundance, you know, because the Pentacles are all about the material world. But it's also this, like, this fulfillment. I'm getting this sense of fulfillment too, especially with the King of Cups here, of just like this cheersing, happy energy. That's what you're working towards, you know, and that's what's important to remember, that, you know, when you open yourself up to this, it's like you bring that energy into your emotional body, right? You bring that into the present moment. And so you might not have the final outcome yet, but this idea of abundance, right, it's an emotional energy that you can give to yourself in the present, and that it's actually, that's how abundance flows to us. If you think about the power of attraction, and all of that kind of thing, if you're a follower of Abraham Hicks or any of those sort of, you know, the secret, quote unquote, and you know, it's not, I do have some issue with some of it, you know, so it's like, it's this idea of, you know, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. You know, I work with manifestation in many different ways. I've also practiced different magic techniques like sigil craft and other things too. You know, there's many, many ways. Moon magic is really incredible. You know, following the cycles of the moon for manifestation and release can be incredibly powerful work, especially for this patience energy, right? It's like the moon is kind of, and I'm on a tangent here, but I'm going to keep with it. The moon is kind of this like ultimate, it's the ultimate in patience manifestation, I think, because a lot of times people, especially, you know, just as a personal note from my personal life, I come from kind of an occult background before I got into any kind of spiritual stuff, and later I realized it was spirituality that I was looking for more so than just occult magic and stuff. But from that occult perspective, there's a lot of this sort of desire for instantaneous manifestation, but in reality, the world, it doesn't quite work that way. that the material world is a much more slower moving action. It doesn't mean manifestation can't happen. It most certainly can, but its manifestation is not instantaneous, and because of that, it requires this deep patience and patient energy. And so when you spread your manifestations out across an entire lunar cycle, which is an entire month, and generally, you've got the half month and the half month, with the full moon and the new moon, and then you have the quarter month and the quarter month with those quarter moons. By doing that, by spreading your manifestation over an entire month, you give this powerful unfolding energy of it day by day, moment by moment, so that it's not an expectation of an instantaneous situation. Now, I don't even remember where this tangent came from. I was talking about the power of attraction with this manifestation idea, right? So if you listen to somebody like Abraham Hicks, something that they talk about a lot, with their vortex stuff and all that, which, take it or leave it. I'm not telling you it's the gospel, but I am saying it can be a helpful analogy. What's interesting about that idea, right, is this idea that it's like you're bringing that abundance energy into the now moment instead of, because it's like if you think, oh my God, I wish I was doing X, Y, and Z, and then you think, damn, I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, then it's like you're actually perpetuating this lack mentality. That's where the lack mentality comes from. It's this idea that, oh, I don't have X, Y, and Z, and by telling yourself that, right, by telling yourself that the reality is I don't have X, Y, and Z, that is the what you are perpetuating in your life as your now moments continue to unfold. Because remember, it's important to remember that the future doesn't exist and the past doesn't exist. All that we have is this present moment, and that our thoughts are actually deeply powerful. And this is important. It's important to remember too that it's like, you don't have to consciously try to manipulate and control every single thought that pops into your head. That's kind of a recipe for disaster, but it is important to remember that your thoughts do control your life. So what you think about is what you bring into your life, and that can be as woo-woo as you want it to be, or it can be as logical as you want it to be. And I'm not, I consider myself kind of a little bit of a middle, right? I attempt to unite the heart and the mind in myself, this uniting of the two bodies. But what can be important to remember sometimes is this idea that, like I was talking about, it doesn't have to be totally woo to think that your thoughts control or dictate what comes into your life. Because just think about it. Whatever mind state that you are in is going to be the life that you perpetuate for yourself. If you believe something to be the case, like, like I can never do this because I am blah, 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 if whatever this is for you, if you believe that to be true, then it becomes truth. If you believe that you aren't good at something, then you're going to perpetuate a reality for yourself in which you're not good at that thing. But if you change that script, and instead of just saying right off the bat, I'm brilliant at this, like sometimes that'll work, sometimes it won't. But if you just say, I'm good at changing my mindset, you know what I mean? If that's what your truth is, like I'm good at learning a new skill, right? Then we're getting to this patience energy. That's not instantaneous manifestation, because, if you just told yourself, oh, I'm brilliant at this, when you think that you're not, or you haven't ever been, and the reality for yourself for the longest time has been, I'm bad at this, right? Then, you could fall flat on your face pretty much instantly, and then you're going to be saying, see, this is just further perpetuation that I'm not blah, 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 So I don't necessarily recommend doing that. But if you take this, right, and this has just been one long tangent that I'm going to come back to this abundance energy. If you take it instead and you say, I'm good at learning a new skill, I'm good at learning how to do something, then you're going to be taking this patience attitude. You're going to be putting in the hard work. It's not just having that vision for yourself, it's also putting in the work to make it happen. It takes physical action in life as much as it takes visionary thinking in order to bring something into reality, in order to make something happen. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with putting in the hard work to make something happen. And in fact, it can be quite mystical. And in fact, by believing, right, that you are able to make something happen, then you open that possibility up for yourself, and you open yourself up towards that abundance of energy to come into your life. So it takes a balance of forces. And then be open to, you know, be open to the right thing to come in at the right time. Ask for help from the non-physical, be it your guides or however you believe in, you know, just the universe itself, whatever your conceiving of reality is shaped like, you know. Ask and you shall receive, right? Like, open yourself up to it. Ask for help and be surprised when help comes to you, you know? And so, just to end and recap that whole tangent, in order to get to this ultimate abundance, you have to believe that you're in it already, right? And that's an emotional state. So bringing yourself into the emotion of things are working out for me, to bring it back to Abraham Hicks, like I was talking about before, you know, regardless of what you think of her, you know, she's got some really great mindsets, you know, and some really great ideas. You know, I would personally recommend, she tends to talk about like not thinking about the past and not settling past issues, you know, and just being like, well, just what all that matters is right now, which is true. But you know, I tend to really, if you watched any of my other readings in this particular grouping, I talked at one reading about counseling for a while, because I tend to think that, just from my own personal experience, it was really important for me to settle a lot of past issues, because there's a lot of like, we tend to carry in our lives, just based on our upbringings, we tend to carry with us a lot of assumptions about life that are pretty deep set and deep rooted. And so I think sometimes it's important to really analyze within ourselves, especially if you're depressed or something, which I don't really feel from you, but I'm talking about one of the other piles now, so who knows if this is something you want to hear or not. But, you know, I tend to find for myself, it's this idea that, you know, in order to heal certain parts of our past, it's important to face it, right? It's important to see it. And that's a part of shadow work that I think is really important, and that I think is actually deeply missing from a lot of these power of positive thinking people, and the New Age movement in particular, is that it's missing that shadow element, which you might have heard. There's a popular phrase going around that I actually kind of really like. It's this idea of spiritual bypassing, which I believe in and I don't. I actually do believe in the power of positive thinking, and I think that it's incredibly important to do that. And I'm an optimist, so that's just my own personality. But I do think it's really, really important, you know, as I've been saying, how our minds shape our reality. However, I think that it's important to face our shadow that's inside of us, because as soon as you put up this sort of black and white, you know, if there are parts of yourself that you don't want to face, and that you're labeling as bad or evil, and that if you are doing that with other people outside of you as well, you know, if you're saying this group of people is bad, you know, and that's kind of my one problem with some of the videos that I watch from a lot of people online. You know, there's a lot I really like about this idea of the ascension or whatever, and these groups of people who are talking about that kind of thing, and 5D and all of that kind of stuff. You know, there's a lot about it I actually really enjoy, and I really kind of feel that I subscribe to. You know, I potentially could consider myself a starseed, I think, and, you know, all of those kinds of thinking. There's a lot I like about it, but what I don't like about it is this idea of placing this dichotomy, right? You know, by placing this group of people, that there are the you know, the reptilians or whatever, who are all gonna be these horrible people, you know, or there's the cabals of people who are, you know, it's just like, as soon as you start to put these kinds of groups into place, you're kind of putting this false dichotomy in place, and by naming your enemy, you create the enemy within yourself, right? Whereas if you look at it from this heart-centered, compassionate place, you'd start to understand that the internal and external realities reflect one another, right? That that in reality, everything that is outside of us and everything that is inside of us are all one organism. That I am very as much the universe as this table is. And in fact, the table and me are no different. We're all one being, one entity. And so all human beings, all humans are all one, and and this isn't to say that there are no problems in the world, right? Like, I don't want to downplay the fact that there are groups of people that are doing some really terrible things in the world right now, and I don't want to say that their actions are okay, but I am going to have compassion towards people who act in that certain way, and I can still have boundaries that set up against those kinds of people and not let them into my life and not be manipulated and not tolerate manipulative behavior in my own personal life and still feel compassionate for those people, right? To still have ultimate compassion, because that kind of darkness, right? If we're going to talk about light versus dark or whatever, that kind of dichotomy, they're both two sides to the same coin at the end of the day, that it's all one thing. And so, I got really on a tangent in this reading, but I just think it's important for me to talk about this. I've been thinking a lot about it, I've been thinking a lot about this, and this is just my own personal situation too. It's like I've dealt with a lot of groups of people in the magical communities that I've been a part of that, I don't necessarily agree with their actions, and I do think that I've met darkness. I think that I've met darkness on a mystical sense. And entities that are dark and, quote unquote, and that weren't good for me. I think that I have personally encountered those and worked with them and let them go, and set up boundaries, very strong, firm boundaries now against those. But even still, even having experienced that firsthand myself, I'm still not going to demonize those beings and the people who go to them, because it's all a part of learning, right? I don't think I would be where I am right now if I didn't go through those experiences, if I didn't experience those kinds of beings and entities. I think that I maybe even experienced possession, if you think about it. I think I did in a certain sense. I definitely, mediumship runs in my family, so I do have a connection with the dead, and I've definitely connected with the dead before. But I do think that I may have allowed an entity into myself for a while that wasn't working out for either of us, which is ultimately what happens with those kinds of thought forms and entities, right? It's like it's not like it's this evil, like, demon is possessing you and they're going to control you and ha ha ha. Although I think there is some of that. It's more like the powerful emotional forces with this uniting of the mental and the emotional body. You guys, pile number 3, are really getting a pretty detailed description of a lot of things I've been thinking about. So good for you. If you feel free to tune out of this at any time. This official reading is over, but I'm going to keep going and talking about this kind of stuff. I think what's interesting is that I don't think, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. We can have a discussion about this kind of thing too. I really don't think that those kinds of, I don't know if I believe in a capital E evil. I really don't. Even having experienced what I've experienced, even having dealt with entities who many people probably would consider capital E evil, including like very demonic feeling groups of people. I've been around those kinds of people and energies and stuff, and I still don't really want to demonize them, and I think that that's just a part of my own compassionate nature. I'm a deeply compassionate person, and that's kind of who I am. So the idea of demonizing anyone seems very stupid to me. I don't know, it's just stupid. But I do think that there are beings and people and entities and things that don't mean you well, right? That will kind of try to manipulate you and move you towards their goals, and try to make their goals your goals, and convince you that their goals are your goals. I do believe that there are people who do that, and I think that there are entities who do that, and I think that that's kind of where this darkness is. I do believe that, and I do believe there are people who want to manipulate people into doing certain things in a quest for power. I do believe that. I do believe that. But I don't necessarily think that I don't want to bring out the pitchforks against them, you know? I don't want to do that because they're just people like anybody else. I think they're misguided, you know? That's kind of how I view that train of thought. I think it's like this deep misunderstanding of reality and of the self. And it's a need for power, right? And a need for power is a misunderstanding of the world. It's to be so deeply divided against oneself that you know it's like the ultimate aloneness, you know, when you're ultimately alone within yourself, and so you try to drum up power to get people to like you instead of just liking yourself, you know. It's like I think that's where it ultimately comes from. It's like this deep distrust and dislike of oneself ultimately, that coupled with these primal emotions and primal factors. I think for entities in particular who feed off of the energy of people, which I think is a thing, you know, and these entities that I think some people would label as bad or evil or something like that, you know, as opposed to light beings, quote unquote, or just entities who are here to help people, and that's just what they want to do, and that's all they're going to do, you know, like angels and angelic beings, but also most likely your spirit guides and spirit teams, and any of those kinds of entities. I think that the major difference, and feel free to let me know what you think, because I'm just telling you my opinion. I feel like that difference comes from the forces that feed, you know, these energies, right? Like whereas this peace and calm energy is what's feeding these entities who are perpetuating that. I think that anger and disunion and all of that are primal emotions that can feed other kinds of entities and beings, and it's up to us to, like, I think what's ultimately really important to remember, and something that I've learned myself, is that we all have free will on this plane of existence. We all do. And so you don't have to be afraid of entities who are fueled by anger and fear. In fact, by being afraid of them is actually how you fuel them. You don't have to be afraid of them, because they can only come into your life and into your existence if you allow them to. And that can be through emotions and stuff like that, which, to tie it all back into what I've been talking about, is why I have a bit of an issue with some of the groups who are just the power of positive thinking kind of attitude, who aren't willing to do shadow work, who are spiritually bypassing. Just to tie it all back home to this, I think that by not doing that work within themselves, they actually open themselves up to being susceptible to these forces even more so, because there's an unconscious element within them that is, you know, that is fighting at this, right? And so it's like they're actually, like, I feel like people are more susceptible because of that. Now, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. Like I've been saying, I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this stuff. Yeah, I don't... Just to recap your reading, I do think, though, to go back to the Abraham Hicks idea, right? You are being encouraged to bring in this abundance energy into your life. And that just means through emotions, you know? Like, lavish yourself in a way that you don't even need to spend money on. It can be spending time. Time and money are very similar. Give back to yourself. Take a bath if you can. You know, go walking in the park for a couple hours. Get up early and watch the sunrise, you know, or watch the sunset somewhere. You know, stuff like that. Give yourself those kind of like magical moments, and open yourself up to this. And so the more that you do that, the more that you bring it into your life. Anyway, pile number 3, that was my reading for you. I hope that it resonates. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you think. Either way, I would love to hear from you. I went off on a huge tangent on that reading, which was fun. I like that. I don't regret it. So yeah, let me know what you think. Clearly that was going to be important for somebody. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. This is a community, so you know I'm happy to build it with all of you. Sorry I was gone for a month. I kind of needed it. I needed a break. I needed to move. And if you could see my apartment right now, it's total craziness. But I'm doing the readings again, so we're slowly but surely opening up to a new day for all of us. Anyway. If you want a private reading with me, I have them available on my website. Feel free to check that out at www.junodrome.com. And finally, I got a Patreon. You can join me on there. I don't think anybody's joined me yet, so please do. It's some way that you can help me even further with this channel. Eventually, I would like this channel to sustain my life. I've taken up some jobs, though. Which now I'm just down to one job, which is great. I tried to do 2 part-time jobs so I could afford to move and deal with all those expenses, and that was another reason I couldn't do my readings. But I want to be my real job, you know. This is my full-time thing. I want to give to you, and I want to make this a real thing, you know. And this channel is going to be more than just readings eventually. If you noticed, I do have a meditation up. I also have a short film called A Life Unrequited, about some of my experiences with a friend of mine about a year ago, and so you can check that out as well. I'm probably going to put more of my art and music and stuff in this channel as well, so let me know what you think about that too. Anyway, friends, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. This is going to be a much more regular occurrence again. So I haven't quite figured out what my full schedule is going to be yet, but you'll know it when I do. Catch you later, pile number 3. Hey there, pile number 4. Welcome to your reading. This is your reading for what changes are coming into your life. What are the new things, the different things, the moving things that are coming in right here, right now to switch things up, change things up. Change is the nature of the universe. I think that change is the only constant thing that exists in life, which is kind of a silly thing if you start thinking about it. So everything is always moving into something else. We're always moving on, we're always moving in, we're always moving different, you know. And so this reading is just going to be focused on that and kind of asking us, like, what's this change that's happening? What's moving? Where are we going? What can we expect in this movement? So I've got 4 different decks that I've pulled from today. We're going to start out with 2 cards from the Wild Unknown Tarot. We've got the Son of Pentacles, which is the, I think it's the Knight of Pentacles in most decks, yeah. And then we've got the Ace of Wands. Ooh. All right, so Ace of Wands, this is a new beginning that's coming towards your passions and your drives. And the movement that's happening, so for me, the Knights, to me, in readings, always talk about the movement that's happening within the reading that I'm doing. So it's like, where is the movement? Where's the action happening? And it's happening in the Pentacles. So that's the material world. It's abundance a lot of times, like money, but also, you know, wealth, physical well-being, health. You've got some movement happening in the physical. So it could actually be moving. You know, you could be moving like I just moved, or, you know, something like that. And, you know, with this Ace of Wands, it's this new beginning that this movement is encouraging and is coming. And it's a movement, or a new beginning towards your passions and your drives, the things in life that light you up. What makes you tick? What makes you want to do stuff? What makes you get out of bed in the morning, you know? You've got a new beginning in that, where you're reawakening these passions, you're reawakening these drives, and they're going to really be tuning into you, you in the most you that's possible. Like, that's what you are unleashing within yourself in this new beginning. And it's coming from a change. So maybe it is time to change up your environment, maybe, with that kind of thing. Or it's time to redecorate a little bit, or some kind of shift, moving into a new place, taking a different route to work every day now, or switching up, something like that, physical switching up, and maybe changing jobs, with it being movement in the material, something like that. I feel that for you. Maybe it's letting go of a job that you don't like, that you think you're only doing just to pay the bills, and finding something that's going to make you feel more passionate. It could be that. Next up, we have 2 cards from the 1JJ Swiss deck, one of my absolute favorite decks here. We've got the Page of Cups, and we've got the Ace of Pentacles. Ooh, okay, so another ace, and more Pentacles energy. So it's just reconfirming that, maybe it is a new job, or, something like that. And you've got another new beginning card here as well, because the pages talk about, they talk about just starting out in something. They're like on the first steps, just working towards something at the beginning. So you've got that very powerful new beginning coming in for you right now. And that's the major change that's happening. It's like, I feel like you're in a new chapter, right? Whatever's happened in your past, you have flipped the chapter and you're in a new story, right? It's like the old story's done. You've done a lot to change your circumstances, and now you're moving towards abundance and passion, right? And it's this fueled united. So I feel like that's kind of what's happened for you, is you've figured out how to follow your dreams, right? And that your dreams have the potential to make you, really abundant, whether that means wealth or just, having all of your needs met. You're able to do that. And that's like, it's not just going to be your physical needs, it's going to be your passionate needs and your emotional needs, because the Page of Cups is all about the emotional body, about compassion, about love. And so it's like this new beginning is not only going to bring in passion, it's not only going to bring in stability, but it's also going to bring in happiness. It's kind of this amazing trifecta here, which is incredible to see that. It's this movement towards a new physical world around you, which is beautiful. Next up, we have 2 cards from the, it's called the Universal Waite Deck. This is the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. We've got the Knight of Wands. Ooh, another knight, and it's with this Wands energy. And you've got the Sun. Oh, what a wonderful card. The Sun is the best card in the tarot deck, in my personal opinion, because it's just this like very beautiful energy. It's just like ultimate happiness, the light of day, this happy shining. Look at these sunflowers. It's this ultimate love, this ultimate happiness, this deep set peace and joy and fulfillment, and that's really incredible for you to have that here. And then with this Knight of Wands, that's all about more energy of movement. It's another movement of the energy in this reading, and it's towards your passions. So these 2 cards and these 2, it's like you've got 2 aces and 2 knights in these 2 suits. So they're really, really reflecting each other. Like, this is very strong, powerful energy of, following your passions, and your passions are going to pay the bills, like I get that sense for you. So don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of chasing your dreams, that the sun is on your side. So go for it. You're really, really, really being encouraged to go for it. So to start this new beginning, because you've got it coming in, it feels pretty inevitable, but it might take a jump. Sometimes these new beginnings they take jumping off that cliff, and sometimes you jump off the cliff and you come right to another cliff that you got to jump off again. just speaking from personal experience. So, you know, learn to do that, you know, like, but you don't have the Fool here, so it's not necessarily, I think maybe you already did it, you know, because this energy is coming in fast with these two knights here. That's very swift moving energy. Well, no, actually, so the Knight of Pentacles tends to be very slow moving. He's very slow moving. He's the slowest moving of the knights, but the Wands, he's very fast moving. So you've kind of got to, it's like your passions are going to light you up, and that energy is coming in really fast, and it's going to keep you going. But the Pentacles move very slowly. So it's like you're also willing to take your time to build this thing, but the dreaming of it is what's going to fuel the slow moving action that's coming from the Pentacles. And it's going to make you happy because you're doing this, you know, because you're doing this, you've got double happiness too, actually. These two cards reflect one another as well. That's kind of fun. All of the cards are reflecting each other, which is great. So anyway, it's like you're going to feel this passion, and you're going to be happy that you're following your passions, and that happiness and that passion energy is going to fuel you moving the slow parts, right? Because instantaneous manifestation, you know, you do get things immediately, and things can manifest in your life, but it's like you generally need to have, you got to build the framework too, because we co-create with the universe. The universe just doesn't give us everything, and then we don't just toil and force without help from the universe. It's like it's a give and a take. We both do it together. And then if you want more information on that, check out pile number 3, because I go off on a whole huge tangent about manifestation, and I wax poetic on many a topic. So feel free to check that out. I'm not going to keep talking about it here. Let's see what your final 2 cards come from my hand-drawn deck. I made this myself. You got the 8 of Cups. Cool. And we've got the Moon. Oh, wow. Well, look at that. Yeah, definitely check out pile number 3, because I talk a lot about light and dark and that kind of dichotomy, and so maybe that'll mean something to you too. I go off on a really long tangent with that. I don't even remember what I was talking about fully, so there might be some good nuggets of something in there that I channeled. I'm not entirely sure. But back to you guys. You know, you do have this kind of reflection energy. You've got the Moon and the Sun, right? So it's like, you know, I do feel like it's like these cycles, right? These cycles of life, especially too with this the 8 of Cups. It normally means walking away from something, moving on to a new energy, and it does mean that in this card too. But I give it some extra dimension with this wheel here. You know, with the Dharma wheel is what this is, and it's like this idea that the wheel in the sky keeps on turning. Things continuously change into something else, which is kind of what I think I was either talking about it at this one or the last one, but that's what change is all about. You know, change is the nature of reality. So it's like whatever happened yesterday, that's gone. So don't worry about that anymore. You know, you're able to let that go now. You don't have to bring the past into the present. And in fact, this moment is nothing at all like what happened yesterday. And this last chapter, right, because I said that you've turned the chapters and now you're on this brand new chapter. This new chapter is nothing like the old one. And maybe you learn some lessons and some wisdom and stuff from your old lessons that will carry through now, but you don't have to take anything else with it besides the wisdom, right? You can take the wisdom and leave everything else behind because you don't need it anymore. And then with this Moon here too, it's really asking you to trust your intuition. So you've got intuitive nudges that are going to open up what these passions and drives are for you, and they're going to give you this plan, right? So be open to that. Be open to your intuition to give you a plan on how to move forward, and that you actually have one coming into your life if you just pay attention to it. And so remember, the intuition, it communicates in really silent nudges, and so it's like you got to listen for it, but it's quiet, but it's there. So just keep out an ear and slow your thoughts, slow everything else down until you can start to hear it talking, and then you'll hear it. Anyway, pile number 4, that was my reading for you. I'm going to cut it there. I think I got everything in for you. Please feel free to let me know in the comments what you think. I love hearing from everybody. If you want a private reading with me, I have them available on my website. Feel free to check that out at www.junodrome.com. And I have a Patreon page that you can help support me further. That's available at patreon.com/junodrome. Anyway, pile number 4, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I've been saying, I apologize for being absent for the last month. I moved. I'm in a new place, and I finally moved all my stuff. I had to find an apartment. I had to get some part-time jobs to afford it. And it was just a lot of things that came up at once that I had to deal with. Talk about changing chapters and moving into something new. I mean, this is where I am, this energy. You know, I left a lot of things behind, and I had to turn a lot of pages in my own personal book to tie up my loose ends. But I've done that now, so I can continue with the channel, which is great, because the channel was always my new beginning. I just hadn't really set up my personal life infrastructure in such a way that could support it sustainably. But now I believe that I have done that work, and so I'll be able to much more regularly resume a pretty heavy tarot schedule for all of you. So definitely pay attention to readings coming up in the future, because I'm going to have a lot of them. And eventually we're going to be doing another giveaway for another free private reading, probably a couple of them when I reach 1,000 subscribers. So definitely stay tuned, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you all later. Have a wonderful day. Catch you later.